Okay, picture the scene. You are at your place of work, you are at your office, and all of a sudden, somebody runs in and they start smacking you in the face. And eventually you're able to see who this person is, and it's Dave from accounts going, I can't believe you ate all the biscuits. You are not gonna be a happy chap. And yet in wrestling, this does happen all the time. Hello, my name is Simon Miller. Welcome to What Culture Wrestling. And this is 10 terrifying attacks that came from the crowd. Number 10, Baron Corbin obliterates Pat McAfee on the 22nd July 2022 SmackDown. Now we all know that Pat McAfee has been an absolute blessing for WWE, but the best thing about him being a commentator and also a part-time wrestler is that you were always going to get the angle where he would be at the announce desk going, oh, I'm so happy to be here today, when somebody would pop up, kick his ass. This is exactly what happened before SummerSlam too, because after Pat and Baron Corbin had got into it at Money in the Bank, Corbin was so upset by this, he was like, I can't have this dude continue to just whine on and on and on, so I'm gonna go down there and I'm gonna jump him. He didn't do this by walking down the aisle though, he made sure he used the crowd so he could be completely hidden. Seriously, this attack is pretty violent. It really did help build their match though and establish who was the good guy and who was the bad guy. And of course the next time Pat McAfee is gonna have a fight, you probably can't do this again, but in a year or so, knock yourself out. Number 9, Bret Hart at the Hall of Fame 2019 ceremony. Now I can't believe this happened, and for the love of everything, if you are a fan or a non-wrestler and you go to an event, you don't get to jump Barry Barricade and you don't get to attack nobody. You are there to watch a show, nobody cares about you. And yet at the 2019 Hall of Fame, when the Hart Foundation were being inducted, some absolute goober did this to the Hitman. That's right, they did this to Bret Hart. Absolutely. Knowing what he has been through, if you have the audacity to even consider this, well, you deserve everything you get, which is why, as awful as that was, it was quite nice to see the wrestling community all of a sudden come together. Give this dude a little bit of a kicking. You can see on the footage that Cash Wheeler especially gets one punch in that looks like it absolutely knocks this dude out. Honestly, I remember I heard about this at the time. I was at the flipping Ring of Honor and New Japan show over at Madison Square Garden, and you could just hear the news ruffling through the audience because everybody thought this was the worst possible thing that somebody could do. So once again, just to rubber stamp it into the ground, don't do it. Number 8, what happened at the RVD and Eddie Guerrero ladder match on May 27th, 2002 Raw. Now let's just put this into perspective. We had gotten to the end of WWE's Monday Night Show, and we were about to see Rob Van Dam versus Eddie Guerrero for the Intercontinental Championship in a ladder match. Now that gets you all warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum, and you're probably going to be sat on your sofa going, oh my gosh, this is so great. I can't wait to see what happens when another schlub tries to ruin everything. Because seriously, as Eddie was actually climbing the ladder, and do not forget he'd only recently returned to WWE at this stage, we do get a human being, once again jumping the rail, getting in there, and pushing the ladder over, meaning Guerrero not only had to abandon his pursuit for the championship, but he had to try and save his ass. Now thankfully he did land on his feet because he was one athletic cat, and when all the officials got in there to take this fan away, Eddie just wound up and he popped him right in the face. And you can't blame him, because as the title of this video said, he was probably terrified. Number 7, somebody goes after Randy Orton at a July 30th, 2013 house show. I swear, you have got to be off your rocker to even try this. Because you already know it's a house show, and you already know it's Randy Orton. And when he got into the squared circle, he did that pose he used to do. And I suppose in this year, he still had that music. It was like, hey, nothing you can say. And as soon as he did assume this position, we had another individual in the ring that gave the vibe, gave Randy Orton in 2013, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, a low blow. Unsurprisingly, this did no damage to Orton's testicles, and he turned around and just obliterated this dude, to the point a bunch of security guards had to get down there and break it up. And the most interesting thing about this, when you do see the footage, is that Randy just kind of shrugs it off afterwards and is like, well, we may as well get on with the show. This happened in Cape Town too, if you're interested. So if you are watching this in Cape Town, well, just don't be like this person. But that doesn't just apply to Cape Town. Applies to the world. Number 6, Seth Rollins on the November 22nd, 2021 Raw. What really got me about this one is that after the fact, you had wrestlers and non-wrestlers going, oh man, Seth should have done more here. I can't believe he didn't attack him back. All right, imagine you're walking down the street and you see somebody else running towards you. if you instantly decide, I'm going to attack that person, well, it's probably you with the problem. Rollins was also walking to the back already during this when he did get jumped from the side. And actually, if you go and watch this footage, before security does come down to get rid of the guy, Rollins is starting to apply a little bit of a choke. So he's Darth Vader. It is baffling why the hell WWE cameras lingered on this moment as much as possible, but I think this ties in too. They likely assumed it was part of the storyline and was meant to be happening, but I promise you, as a man that knows nothing, it was not. Number 5. Linda McMahon on the 20th of March 2000 Raw. Triple H will feature again in this list later on, but he makes his debut here, because after he had defeated The Big Show and The Rock to make it feel like our main event at WrestleMania wasn't going to happen, Linda McMahon walked out and said, "No, Triple H, you're absolutely wrong, and the 4th member of that match is going to be Mick Foley." Everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, Mick Foley," because he had recently retired. Straight after this though, somehow a fan once again did get over the barrier and was quite literally stood there in between the game and in between Linda McMahon. Now, nobody knows what the flub he was going to do, but thankfully Hunter reacted to this and just jumped on him. Now, I'm sure at the end of the day, all this guy wanted to do was stand there like, "Oh, I can't believe I'm on television." But what if he had gone after Linda McMahon? I mean, she couldn't even take a stunner. There's no way anybody should be attacking her for real. But that's just not in wrestling. That's just life. Stop doing bad things to people you don't know, and actually stop just doing bad things. Number 4, Stone Cold Steve Austin at a 6th of April 1998 house show. So this is when Triple H comes in for his round 2, and Stone Cold Steve Austin has talked about this on his podcast. And if you haven't heard it, you absolutely should. Because the Game and the Rattlesnake had just main evented a house show in Berlin, and given that Steve had just won the thing, he was laying on the match to show that he had been in a war and he probably needed some water in order to get back to his feet again. Then, the next thing he knows, somebody is beating him up from behind, and given what had just taken place, he thought, "Ha ha ha, this is Hunter Hearst Helmsley just getting his licks in. Why don't I turn around and give him a stunner and send these fans home happy?" The thing is, it was a fan who had actually decided to assault Steve Austin, and that would never get through my head. And Triple H saw this, and once again, he just absolutely wrestles this fool to the ground, and he gapes some shots in. And how is this not evidence for you not to copy such behavior? Not only will you get banned from WWE events forever, but you'll also walk away with probably a broken arm and some bruising. Referee Mike Chioda also makes sure that he throws some bones, and eventually this person is dragged out of there. But still, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to go too crazy here. But what if he had some kind of weapon? Was Austin able to protect himself at all? No, he was not. Number 3, Seth Rollins on the August 15th, 2016 episode of Raw. Seth Rollins was absolutely on fire in 2016, even though he had recently returned after his injury, pretended he was going to be a babyface, and then done that promo where he goes, "Oh man, you fans hate me, and now you're gonna turn me into the villain." As I sit there with my hand up going, "Excuse me, Mr. Rollins, I don't think that. I actually quite like you." Seemingly one member of the WWE Universe was affected by this though, because 24 hours after he had cut that promo, Seth Rollins was making his way to the ring. He started jaw-jacking somebody in the crowd, which is part of going to a wrestling event, when this fan pushes him so hard, it's like, no, you do not do it. You don't get to see much else because the focus then turns to Finn Balor, who is about to make his entrance, but once again, did a bunch of security run out there to drag this idiot off into the distance? Yes, they did. I can see it now. And sure, I get it. Some of you will be going, "Well, that just makes Seth Rollins a really good bad guy," and you are correct, but there has to be rules, people. Don't touch the wrestlers, unless you slap their hand. Number 2, Sting at the June 10th Impact. So this one isn't really terrifying, but it is hilarious, and it's one of my favorite moments in wrestling history, so when I can be an asshole and squeeze it in there, I get to squeezing. We shall focus on the TNA one, because why the hell not? And yes, this is one of those times where Sting decided to hide in the crowd as Sting, but then he removed his Sting mask to reveal that he had Sting makeup on, and the reason he did have Sting makeup on is because this is Sting. And I know, it makes no sense and you can't explain it to anyone that doesn't watch wrestling, but I do watch wrestling, so I don't have to worry about it. This was all during the time he was feuding with Rob Van Dam in TNA, and he used this ruse to take a chair and throw it right into Rob's face. And I want to say this, I assume the Stinger is going to retire sooner rather than later given his age, but if we could get like 5 more of these before he does say goodbye, I'd really appreciate it. Number 1, Chris Jericho surprises Rey Mysterio on the May 29th, 2009 episode of SmackDown. Chris Jericho is a wrestling genius. I mean, whether you like him or don't like him, he has had so many characters, so many gimmicks, so many personas, so many matches, and so many ideas, and like 99% of all of them have just hit. And if you go into your maths book, you will see that is a good rate of success. More evidence of this did come in 2009 when he was taking on Rey Mysterio for the Intercontinental title, and their work was so good just for a fleeting second that championship actually meant something again. And it's probably down to angles like this, because as Rey Mysterio did come out all like, oh my gosh, who's in the sky, Mysterio, whatever the hell his song was, he saw somebody in the crowd that also happened to be wearing a mask, so he went up to them and gave them a hug like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for the royalty. The thing is, it wasn't just a regular audience member, and it was Jericho who went on to kick Rey Mysterio right in his face, and when he did make the reveal, while it was obvious because we know what Chris Jericho looks like, it just made you go, hot damn, that was good. Rey also sold this wonderfully. It was like he actually was getting jumped by somebody who wasn't meant to jump him, and this is yet one of those things you just have to go and see. It's executed so damn well. Know of any other terrifying attacks on the crowd? Make sure you let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Then head over to whatculture.com where you can read yourself some articles. Make sure you come follow us on social media. We do have a lot of videos. Please watch one. My name is Simon for What Culture. Thank you for joining me as always. And I presume that somebody was going to attack me during this video, even though there's no crowd, but I think I'm okay. Yep, we're good. Goodbye.